Hello my dear students, I welcome you all to English class. So exam is approaching and it's just around the corner and we have to be prepared. So today let's focus on some of the important questions. So in today's session, in today's class, I'm going to give you a few questions which are important and which can be asked in examination. And these questions are 1 mark questions. So I'm going to discuss 1 mark questions which can appear in the examination, especially from the chapter Romeo and Juliet and on children. So I'm going to write all these questions on the board so that you can write it down. So after writing the question, I'll discuss the answer. So now let's begin. So the first question, so I'll begin, as I said, I'll begin with Romeo and Juliet. And the question that I'm going to write now, all these questions are often repeated questions. If you look at old question papers or model question papers, these questions are, all these questions are there. So let's not take all these questions for granted. we'll discuss these 10 questions. I'll give you the answer. So just recall everything that you studied in the past 1 year about Romeo and Juliet. Just look at the questions. So the first question here is, who is compared to a rich jewel in an Ethiop's ear in Romeo and Juliet? So here rich jewel is a simile. So here rich jewel is compared to Juliet. So here the answer for the first question, that is Juliet, who is compared to a rich jewel. Just remember, rich jewel, that is Juliet. And the second question, what according to Romeo does Juliet teach to burn bright in the poem Romeo and Juliet? That is in the first line itself. So Juliet, according to Romeo, Juliet teach the torches to burn bright. So the answer for the second question, that is torches. So Juliet teach the torches to burn bright. So the third question, who is compared to a snowy dove in Romeo and Juliet? Again, this is another simile. Here Juliet is compared to snowy dove. So as I said, here rich jewel as well as snowy dove, these are two main similes used here. So snowy dove also referred to Juliet. So the fourth question, who will make the face of heaven fine in Romeo and Juliet? So here face of heaven, that refers to the sky, and who will make the face of heaven so beautiful? The answer is Romeo. So according to Juliet, Romeo makes the face of heaven or the sky look so beautiful. And the fifth question here, when according to Juliet would Romeo make the face of heaven so fine? So when? After turning Romeo into little stars. So where she says after her death, Romeo has to be cut out into little stars so that he will make the sky look so beautiful. So this is the answer for the fifth question. When according to Juliet would Romeo make the face of heaven so fine? So face of heaven, that refers to the sky. So here he will make the sky look so beautiful when he is turned into little stars. And the sixth question, who is whiter than the new snow in Romeo and Juliet? Again, the answer for this question, that is Romeo. So here Juliet, according to Juliet, she says that his charm, that is, or he is whiter than the new snow. Here new snow is compared to Romeo's charm. And the seventh question, who does Juliet associate with the coming of night? That we have seen that she welcomes the night so that she can meet her Romeo, and that is why here she associates Romeo with the coming of night. So again, the answer for the seventh question, that is Romeo. So the next one, who makes the night as bright as day in Romeo and Juliet? Again here, this refers to Romeo. The answer is Romeo. According to Juliet, Romeo makes the night as bright as day, because where she says Romeo is a day which comes in the night. So that is why the answer for the eighth question, that is Romeo. He makes the night as bright as a day. And the ninth one, what did Romeo not see till that night? So Romeo, in the first verse, Romeo says that he had never seen true beauty till that night. For the ninth question, the answer is true beauty. For the ninth question, the answer is true beauty. Romeo did not see true beauty till that night. And the 10th question, how has Romeo's hand been considered? So again, in the first line, this is given in the first line. So here, his hand considered as a rude hand. So Romeo's hand has been considered as rude hand. So these 10 questions are important. Again, there are 10 more questions. So just look at these questions and remember all these questions, recall the answers. So if this is clear, I'll get into the next questions. So now let's look at these questions. Look at the 11th question. Who does the phrase thou day in night refer to? We have already seen this in the previous questions. So again, but here the question or the sentence form is twisted, but the question is same. Who does the phrase thou day in night refer to? You know that thou, which means you. So here you day in night refer to Romeo. So the answer for this question, thou day in night refer to Romeo. Remember that. And the next question, what according to Romeo will happen when he touches Juliet's hand? Again, we have seen this earlier, where he says that, where he considers his own hand as rude hand and he wants to make it blessed after touching her hands. And that is why what happens when he will touch the hands of Juliet? His rude hand will be blessed. So this is the answer for 12th question. So his rude hand will be blessed when he touches the hands of Juliet. And the 13th question, who according to Romeo is too dear for this earth? You know that the meaning of too dear is very expensive. So he says that Juliet is too dear for this earth. So very expensive for this earth. So Juliet is the answer for 13th question. And the next one, where will Romeo lie upon according to Juliet? So she explains that, or she describes it while welcoming or describing the arrival of Romeo, where she says that he will lie upon the wings of night. So answer for 14th question, he will lie upon the wings of night. So where will Romeo lie upon? He will lie upon the wings of night. And the 15th question, who hangs upon the cheek of night as a rich jewel? So here he referred this one, that is cheek of night, as a rich jewel. Here according to Romeo, Juliet hangs upon the cheek of night as a rich jewel. And then 16th question, what does Juliet expect Romeo to be after her death? Again, so when does she want him to be star? So after her death. So here what does Juliet expect Romeo to be after her death? The answer is star. So she expects Romeo to be a star after her death. And then 17th question, whose beauty is too rich for use according to Romeo? So again, it is the same as too dear. So here he says Juliet's beauty, or the beauty of Juliet. And one more thing, so if if this question appears in the examination, please do not write just Juliet. So you have to write the beauty of Juliet or Juliet's beauty. So your answer has to be very precise and meaningful. So that is why please write the beauty of Juliet in case you get this question in the examination. So next 18th question, when does Juliet want Romeo to be a star? As I said, the question can be asked in a different form. So here, when does Juliet want Romeo to be a star? After the death of Juliet. So after the death of Juliet. So now the last question, 19th one. For earth too dear, this phrase suggests that the girl's beauty is here. So for earth too dear, I have already said this, too dear is expensive. So here he says, for a too dear, this phrase suggests that the girl's beauty is very expensive. So these are the important questions that can be asked from Romeo and Juliet for 1 mark. Please, as I said, focus on all these questions. So there are possibilities that these questions may appear in the examination. So if this is clear, let's get into the questions from On Children. So again, there are a few more important questions that can be asked for 1 mark from the chapter On Children. I'm going to write them on the board. So here I have taken 14 questions from the poem On Children for the discussion. So you know that this entire poem is about the relationship between parent and children. Let's look at the first question. So what is the answer for the first question here? what may be given to the children according to the prophet. So here prophet says that parents can only give their love to their children but not thoughts. So the answer for the first question, love. So what may be given to the children? Only love. Love of their parents, that is very important for children to make them stronger in their future, to create or to shape a better future to them. So love can be given to the children according to the prophet. So the next question, what cannot be visited by parents according to the prophet? So what cannot be visited by parents as it is given in the textbook, as it prescribed in a poem. So here again prophet says that parents cannot visit the house of tomorrow. So the meaning of this phrase, house of tomorrow, that is future, but in the examination you have to write the exact word which is prescribed in the textbook, and that exact word is house of tomorrow. So here what the prophet meant is parents cannot guess or predict the future of their children, or that is why he says that they cannot visit the house of tomorrow, or future cannot be visited by parents. But what the answer you have to write, that is visit the house of tomorrow. Parents cannot visit the house of tomorrow. So the next question, what may not be given to the children? So as I said in the first, while discussing the first question, so parents can only give them love but not their thoughts. In other words, parents should not bog their children down. Bogging down is, so they should not impose their thoughts on their children. So that is why here prophet says, you should not give your thoughts to your children, but you can only give your love to your children. So the answer for the third question, that is thoughts. And next one, whom does the phrase living arrows refer to in the poem? You know that here living arrows refers to children. So living arrows refers to children. Remember that is very easy to remember. Children, living arrows refers to children. And the next question, where according to the speaker of On Children do the souls of children dwell? So as I said, the same answer which we have given to the second question. So here, where according to the souls of children dwell? In the house of tomorrow. Which means they belong to the future and they always think about their future. So that is why the answer for the fifth question, in the house of tomorrow, the souls of children dwell. Dwell is live. So their soul always dwell in the house of tomorrow. And the sixth question, who does God use as an instrument to send living arrows to the earth? So here, whom does the God use as instruments to bring or to introduce the children to this world? Parents. Parents. So here, God uses parents as instrument to send living arrows to the earth. Okay, so now the seventh question, let your bending in the archer's hand be for, so as we have seen in the poem, there it says that archer bends the bow with all his power. So the bending would be very painful, but parents should not lose their heart, but they have to be very happy. So the word which is given in the textbook, which is equal to happy, that is the synonym of happy, that is gladness. So here, let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness. So in the examination you will be given options, but here I haven't given any options, but still you should know it. So let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness. So gladness is the answer for this question. So the next one, what does not go backward according to the speaker? So it is clearly mentioned there in the poem, what does not go backward? Life. So life is the answer for the 8th question. I hope this is visible. So life does not go backward, neither life goes backward nor stops, tarries. It doesn't stop also. So the answer for the 8th question, that is life. And the 9th question, who loves both the arrow and the bow? So here answer is the archer. The archer is the answer for this, since it is given arrow and bow. So again, this has to be, the answer has to be archer. In case you are asked, in case in the examination you get question like who loves both the children and parents, then you can write the god. But here they have used metaphors, that is arrow and bow, for children as well as parents. So that is why you have to use the archer. For the 9th question, who loves both the arrow and the bow, that is archer. Archer loves both the arrow and the bow. And the 10th question, who dwells in the house of tomorrow? The same thing, but the question is twisted here, right? So it can be asked in any ways, as I said earlier. So what is the answer for this question? Who dwells, who lives in the house of tomorrow? Obviously children. So children dwell in the house of tomorrow. And the next one, whom does the word bow refer to? So as I said here, prophet metaphorically explains or describes the relationship between parents and children. So here bow refer to parents. So while explaining, he says parents should be like very stable, just like bow. It should not be very weak, and it has to be very flexible for the thoughts of their children. So that is why, whom does the word bow refer to? Bow refer to parents. And then, who are sent forth as living arrows? Again, as I said, living arrows refers to children. So remember these 3 things. The archer refers to God, and the bow refers to parents, and living arrows refers to children. Again, this is important, so remember it. And then the 13th question, whom does the archer bend? Again, the archer bent bow. So in bracket you can write parents, but that is not important. You can write only bow. So archer bends bow. And the last question, where does the archer see the mark? So where does he see? The mark is here, we can say that the goal, where the living arrow should lead. So here, where does the archer see the mark? He sees the mark on the path of infinite. So the god sees the mark, or the archer sees the mark on the path of infinite. So again, remember, all these questions are often repeated questions and important questions. Please remember all these questions or take it down, so that it will definitely help you in the examination. So this is all about one word questions. So now let's recall few points or few important points that can be used in 4-mark answers, or while writing 4-mark answers. Now again, I'll get back to Romeo and Juliet. What are the things that we need to keep in our mind while writing 4-mark questions? Again here, as I said, I'm only going to give you important points or key points. So now, how does Romeo express the beauty of Juliet, what are the imageries or similes used by Romeo? So the first thing, he glorifies the first thing, he glorifies the sparkling beauty of Juliet, and that is why he starts his description by her brightness. So somewhere he says that she teaches torches to burn bright, or in other words, her brightness or her beauty is more superior than the brightness of the torches around them. So this is the meaning of the first line. Okay, so she teaches the torches to burn bright. In other words, her brightness or her beauty is more superior than the brightness of the torches around them. In other words, you can also put it in another way, that you can say that her brightness surpasses the brightness of the torches. So you can also write it in that way. So the next thing, that she hangs upon the cheek of night, it can be explained as she stands against the darkness. That means she illuminates in that dark night, or she illuminates the night. In other words, she is also, as I said, there are two important similes which are used here to compare the beauty of Juliet, and that is compared with a rich jewel. So here Juliet is compared to a rich jewel, and the night is compared to an Ethiopis, an African lady. So here Shakespeare beautifully compares the night with an Ethiopian lady and Juliet to a rich jewel. So somewhere when she stands in that dark night, it looks as if Ethiop is wearing a very expensive or very shining, very bright jewelry on her. So that is how he brings out the comparison. So the next one is, Juliet is also compared to a dove, a snowy dove. Juliet is compared to a snowy dove, and other women who were there in that hall, they were compared to crows. So these are the comparisons, and you have to take note of all these things which are important. As I said, she was very beautiful, and somewhere it can also be explained as she outshines other women like a dove So she outshines other women like a white dove in the middle of a flock of crows. So this is how he explains or describes her beauty, and then again he says that she is too rich, she's too rich, or she's too expensive to this earth. Which means he's trying to say here that she's so beautiful, that she is so beautiful to die and to be buried. Somewhere she is a very, she is like a divine being. You can say that. She is a divine being, and that is why he wants to touch her hand to make his rude hand blessed. So that is why he says he had never seen such kind of true beauty till that night. So all these points are important for 4-mark question. You can include all these points. So this is all about Romeo and Juliet, and especially these are the lines of Romeo where he expresses his feelings towards Juliet, or where he describes the beauty of Juliet. So we'll do the rest of the things in the next session. So I hope this will help you for the examination, and thank you.